Hello and welcome to week 42's content episode. A slightly different episode. This is our first, virtual video podcast on the main podcast feed. We did a trial on Patreon last week, which went well enough that we're doing it again this week. So if you're catching this on YouTube or actually via Patreon, you're able to see the video version. You can see Josh's, as I said last week, beautiful face on the screen, and so can I. So hello, Josh.
Yeah, good to see you. I mean, don't do yourself down. You know, your face is there as well.
Yeah,
but
I'm obscuring a lot of it with a mic, which is quite sensible.
But, I enjoyed that you said last week's went well enough. I just think it didn't go badly enough that we decided not to do it again. You know,
That's true.
That was more there.
Yeah, and
set the bar low.
We got some good feedback, mainly about my houseplant, which you may be able to see depending on how we frame this. And we will be trying to incorporate more kind of video features or things into it as we go, and do send us feedback what you'd like to see, that sort of thing. But for now, it is just our faces. And a few other little bits here and there. And yeah, I think on that, we'll get into it. We haven't picked a particularly good day to do this. Josh, it is over here, 35 degrees? I don't know what that is in American, but...
Wham! It is very, very hot.
Yeah, and so, yeah, we'll see how sweaty we get by the end, and there may be a little bit of fan noise. I think we're allowed this time. Let us then move into what is coming. Well, not what is coming, I guess what is coming, which is the Women's Euros, and also the fact that we have a lot of content this week because we've had Women's Euros and Shapeshifters, which means we will have some good pound for pound nominations, I'm sure. I guess let's get into it. Josh, who would you say is a pound for pound this week?
Yeah, like an odd week. I think Shapeshifters Team 3 has been interesting, like a 97 rated midfielder that's 100k in Casillas is odd. But like I don't know that there's many players in that team that really stick out. They all feel maybe slightly too high rated for how good the cards actually are. So it is going to be a women's Path to Glory player. Path to Glory would be a very different promo. And I'm going to go with... I'm going to go with an SBC. I'm going to go with Melvine Mallard, a player that I think was looking at potentially leaving Manchester United last summer and ended up staying. But, I mean, it's an 83k SBC, and you go, oh, that's really cheap. And then you see it's like an 87 rated squad, 88 rated squad, and 89 rated squad. Yeah, we are in silly season. 96 rated. It's kind of pointless to go through stats. Her stats are really, really good. She's just a very, very good player. Obviously, you can kind of do whatever you want with her chem style wise to boost whatever you think is important. Play styles, finesse shot plus, base low driven, base tiki taka, got ping pass plus, press proven plus, and quick step plus, base rapid. She's got like pretty much everything I think you'd want from an attacker. Obviously, 4 playstyle pluses is becoming the norm now, but nice to have them. The reason why I think she's a very, very good price, though, is just that upgrade potential. Like, there are a lot of goals, or there tends to be a lot of goals in women's football, so France scoring 3 in 3 matches seems like it's pretty nailed on, so she's most likely going to get that +1. Obviously, we'll go through the Path to Glory promo, I think, a bit more later on. Qualifying for quarterfinals. Now, they're in a group with England, and it is a tough group, so it's not kind of completely guaranteed, but I would back France to get through, and that guarantees her to be 5-star, 5-star, which I think she does need, because she's only 4-star, 5-star. But then you just never know with France. They could easily get further. They only need to win their quarterfinal matches, and she goes to a 5-playstyle plus player. Yeah, for 80k, I honestly think all of the Path to Glory players are worth picking up, just especially from those top nations, because like the chances of them just being unbelievable is so high. Yeah, I think you do well to get better value than her. I think there are other SBCs that maybe you'll nominate one of them, but yeah, Melvine Mallard's mine.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually going to do another SBC. I thought you were about to. The reason why I was concerned is I thought you were going to nab mine by going for the 𝘭𝘪𝘬𝘬𝘀𝘁 SBC, who, I mean, it's just a really well-rounded midfielder. I used another version of hers. Was it, I think, maybe for birthday or maybe Future Stars, potentially? She had another version previously, and it was really good. It was Future Stars, wasn't it? Yeah. And this already, without the upgrade, is a 91.5 rated deep line playmaker according to GG rating, and has Anticipate Plus, Press Proven Plus, and Incisive Pass Plus, as well as base quick step, which is really nice. Jockey Intercept, which are all good as well. 𝘃𝗲𝗿𝘀𝗃 base. And we think, although they haven't completely confirmed, have they, Josh, that these players would get a 4th playstyle plus and go to 96 rated? Which,
yeah, I mean, that would be my expectation. I think it would be pretty weird for them not to. Maybe there's been a pop-up in-game that I've just missed that says she'll get a 4th playstyle plus. But like the last one I think we got was the FA Cup final. So it was it Rico Lewis and Adam Wharton, I think, were the 2 players from that, and Adam Wharton got an extra playstyle plus there, but that was from 2 to 3. But I mean, considering where we are in the game, yeah, I think it's pretty sure that it'll be 3 to 4.
Especially because the other Women's Euros players have 4.
All have 4, yeah.
That would make sense. So yeah, she looks really good. And the other player I wanted to mention, though, is the Rolfo. She's one of the more expensive Path to Glory players, but it's quite interesting that she's eligible for the CDM position change. So that will actually, I think her stats and her playstyles are more suited to that position than left back, unless you're playing a pretty attacking left back. She has a low driven plus, for example, but I think a CDM deep line playmaker build up role would be really nice for her. I mean, ideally it'd be like centre mid, box to box. But I think, yeah, as a CDM deep line playmaker on build up, you'll get a lot more out of her technical plus, incisive plus, and the low driven plus. So you could apply that to her. She'll have all the role pluses from that, and then potentially get upgrades too. I mean, at Sweden's group, maybe we move now on to talking about the competition and sort of which nations to look out for. But Sweden's group includes Germany and Denmark and Poland. Germany, are likely to top the group, but Sweden, I mean, they are a better team than Denmark. They should finish second, and there is potential that finishing second, because of the weird way these groups are set up, is actually an advantage. So yeah, I think it's worth us talking about, because people might not be familiar with the chances of a lot of these nations in the competition. Who are the favourites, Josh, and who to look out for.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair to say Spain are the nailed-on favourites. They won the World Cup 2 years ago, obviously with then the fallout afterwards with Rubiales and Jenny Hermoso and everything that's kind of happened since then. They underperformed, you'd say, at the Olympics. I think they got to the bronze medal match. I think Brazil beat them 4-2 in the semi-final. But I mean, just their second team would probably have a decent chance of winning this tournament. It really is like not fair. And it's basically a Barcelona core with then everyone else around it, because I mean, that Barcelona team is just unbelievable. But as Arsenal showed in the Champions League final, not unbeatable. And in I think it was Euros qualifying, I think Spain and England were in the same Euros qualifying group, and it was 1 win for England and 1 win for Spain. And obviously England are the holders of the Euros at the moment and beat them in the final 4 years ago. So yeah, I don't know. I think England have a pretty good chance here as well. But they've gone through some pretty major changes. A lot of like new players have come in. Obviously Mary Earps was like probably one of the most famous England players. And she's been moved on, retired, I think, from international football. I think that happened because she knew she was getting dropped. So kind of a little bit of awkwardness there. France always have a good team. Obviously, Lyon, one of the biggest teams in kind of women's football, but PSG have started putting money into their women's team as well. So, I mean, really good depth, good young team. Like the Netherlands aren't bad either. Their front four's pretty terrifying. And then it's kind of interesting how the groups have set up. So there's only 4 groups in the Women's Euros. Group A is like nobody in there's really in the top 8 favourites for the tournament. It's like a really quite weak group, which should make it really interesting. You've also got Finland, Norway and Iceland in there. So, you know, if they'd have changed Switzerland and stuck Denmark or Sweden in there, it really would have had that kind of Nordic/Iceland vibe. So that'll be a kind of interesting group. I think that's pretty open. You know, I don't think Finland will get through, but between the other 3, they'll all think they have a chance. Portugal, Italy, Belgium, Spain sounds like a group of death, but really Spain will walk away with it. And then it's kind of like, it's a bit up for grabs. Italy should probably qualify, but Portugal have some good players. Belgium are a little bit further behind. Group C is a tough group. Germany, Denmark, and Sweden will all expect to get through. Poland will probably finish bottom of that group. You know, there's probably names that you would recognise in each of those national teams, especially Germany. And then Group D, England's group, is another kind of group of death a little bit. Wales are going to really struggle. They're probably one of the worst teams at these Euros. And then you've got England, Netherlands, and France, again, all of which would want to qualify. So the opening game for England is France. So that's on Saturday. And yeah, I mean, that's going to be a pretty big game. I think it'll probably set the tone. I think whoever loses that match, if there is a loser in that match, will be really behind the 8 ball to qualify at that point. But yeah, I think everyone will probably get a win against Wales, unfortunately. And then it's kind of going to be those results against each other. And then because of the way it works out, the next knockout round is to the groups are split A and B and C and D. So the winner of Group C plays the runner-up in Group D. The runner-up in Group C plays the winner of Group D. But because of the way that it then splits in terms of the semi-finals, if you were trying to avoid Spain, actually coming second in Group D is probably how you would do that. So it wouldn't be the end of the world for whoever came second in Group D. So yeah, really, Spain are the kind of runaway favourites, and then it's one of 3 behind them if Spain kind of faltered at some point. And you're looking at kind of England, France, and Germany for those 3.
And so in terms of the players, therefore, that look like good prospects, I guess I already mentioned a French player. We've got 𝘵𝗪𝗀𝘀𝘁, who is 2 million coins at the moment. So maybe not a pound for pound at all. But she, you know, I've used versions of her before, and she's really good. 𝘬𝘯𝘂, another French option, looks pretty good. Actually, really strong. I think that's a CM deep line playmaker is her highest GG rating, and looks really good there. And then Paredes. I mean, interesting. I'm always avoiding players who have like slide tackle plus at this point. Like wasted play style. But you can play CDM, which is interesting.
I will say though, and obviously there's going to be a bit of a wait for this, but pretty nailed on to get to the semi-finals. If they win their group, they'll get second in Group A in the round in the quarterfinals. And I mean, it doesn't matter who they play in Group A; they will win that match. So. You know, she will get her 5th playstyle plus, but yeah, you are losing out on one with slide tackle plus being there.
And just to be clear about the upgrades themselves, so if the nation scores 3 in the group stage, they get +1 overall, and not really a huge deal, that really, is it, actually? And if anything, it makes them ineligible for a few Evos if they're 96 rated. So, but then qualify for quarterfinals, gives them 5-star, 5-star, and all rolls ++, and another alternative position. And
I just want to pick up on that before we move on to the rest of them. I'm pretty sure they've all got all the rolls ++ already. So what it's just saying is they'll get an alternate position, and they'll get all the roll ++s in that alternate position, rather than it being some additional bonus.
Exactly, yeah. And then qualify for the semi-finals that's as you said, the extra playstyle plus. Qualify for the final is +1 overall, and then win the final is 99 overall and icon chemistry. For those who don't know, the final is on the 27th of July, so quite a way away actually, and you're probably realistically looking at the sort of 5-star and extra position, and maybe that playstyle plus for getting into the semis as being the, I guess, more appealing ones, because that does feel like a long way away. And we're expecting maybe the last week of Shapeshifters this week, and then into footies, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, the season's got 9 days left on it, so a week on Thursday. I'd be surprised if footies started on Friday, because what they tend to like to do is tease the next big promo in the season pass before the promo starts on the Friday. And so it wouldn't surprise me if we have another week of Shapeshifters, or maybe another week of Shapeshifters and a second Path to Glory squad, or a different Women's Euros promo squad, and then go into footies next Friday.
Yeah.
And I mean, do we expect all footies to be 5 playstyle pluses?
Yeah, well, that's the tricky thing, because that does make these less appealing, doesn't it? If they're having to work for their 5th playstyle plus, and the footies are getting them already. I guess it depends on the quality of those playstyle pluses, but it does feel quite possible that they could go up to 5, because it depends. Do they want to, spread out the power curve further over the course of the summer? They might do so. Maybe they aren't all 5.
And maybe it'll just be a slow kind of release. Like, it's only icons right now that have the 5 playstyle pluses.
Yeah, that's true.
So maybe what it'll be is the end of the paid season pass will be maybe a 5th playstyle plus evolution kind of thing. And we'll start having that split like we got during Team of the Season, where the kind of top 4 or 5 players will have 5 playstyle pluses, everyone else will have 4. And then by the time we get to maybe like week 3 of footies, then everyone's 5 playstyle plus. I can see them doing it like that.
That makes sense. One player I was noticing is Cascarino, one of the French options. It's interesting in terms of it's always a tricky thing with these live items. What playstyle plus are they going to get? And I think it's varied whether they do a completely new playstyle plus, or they upgrade one of the existing playstyle playstyles to a plus. But I noticed she doesn't have finesse at all. And if she gains finesse plus, that's going to be really big for her and will make her very, very good. Because at the moment, she kind of has everything else, I think. And it has that sort of small, nimble, explosive build that is quite hard to track on a wide player.
Especially if they give her left wing as her alternate position.
Yeah, that's true.
Because right now she's right-footed on the
and also
right
getting
wing.
The 5-star weak foot as well, yeah.
Yeah, so that as a combination could be pretty massive. But yeah, like if we're talking about kind of players who have that potential to be upgraded, obviously the only 2 of France, England, and the Netherlands can progress. So any one of those is a bit of a risk. And I think you'd be hard pressed to say who's more likely. I think Netherlands are probably the ones that are slightly less favoured. I'd say they've got a really good front 4, but defensively a little less solid. You've got to think players like Roord, Van der Donk, Miedema's obviously their kind of star up front. So yeah, interesting to see how that will work out. But I think French and English players, you've just got to have that little bit of kind of consciousness, especially because they play each other in that first game. If there is a loser in that game, watch for the Path to Glory price of their cards to come right down. That might be a good time to buy, because especially, I don't know who plays Wales next, but whoever plays Wales next is then like, okay, now they've got to win, and then it will just be like, okay, beat the Netherlands and you might have a chance. Suddenly, so I don't know. I think I would keep an eye on those. Maybe if you think there's going to be a winner in France, England, pick who you think is going to win, but whoever loses might be worth picking them up. Obviously, the Spanish players are good to pick up. I think the only Finnish player is an objective, which is a bit crap because they're just not going to go through. Like, I'm so sure they're not going to go through. So it's kind of like, hey, here's a free player, but they're not going to get anything. I think we got Manum in this season pass. I think Norway have a chance of going through, and that is quite an interesting card. If they go through second and avoid Spain, they then definitely have a chance of getting through to the semis and getting that 5th playstyle plus. So she's an interesting card. I'm going to shout out Pernilla Harder because I just packed her. So, you know, what a chance she's got. But, I mean, she's got finesse shot and low driven already. So kind of whatever that 5th playstyle plus is, unless it's like Flair, that's going to make her very good. Obviously, only 4-star, 5-star at the moment. It does feel, again, a bit crap that they've made them all 4-star, 5-star. I think Spitzer's 4-4, who is another objective player, just so that they can have that as an upgrade to make them 5-5. I don't know. It feels a bit... Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. They don't have the highest like GG ratings either. I mean, some of them do, but yeah, they're not like really top end, most of these, which makes sense because their prices aren't that high, but there is the potential for them to get a lot better, as I was saying, and certain upgrades to playstyles, and I guess certainly weak foot upgrades can add quite a lot to a player. So I guess look out for that. And I also wouldn't say that they're going to go bananas in price necessarily, right, Josh? Like even when they get their upgrades, I just think it's the nature of, well, maybe as people get into the tournament a bit more, but yeah, like there's a lot of supply on these, so it'll be tricky for them to really explode.
Yeah, I mean, there's also, I'm having now looked at the team in a bit more detail, I definitely think we're probably going to get a second squad of Path to Glory because there's no Italians, which feels like a pretty major place to kind of leave them out.
There aren't a lot of Italian players in the database, to be fair, because of
there aren't, but there are enough that I think you could put a couple in, right?
Unless you get SBC, I suppose, but yeah.
So I don't think they'll explode. I think just women's players aren't as popular anyway. But I think that means like you've got those players that have had a bit of hype around them at some point in the game cycle, probably are a bit more expensive. Like Reeton is 360k. I don't quite get that. Like she's all right, but I don't think she's that great. Whereas you look at like Vivian Miedemar's less than 30k. And has an outrageous selection. Like, if you went, okay, what are your top 4 playstyles for a striker? You would probably go finesse shot plus, low driven plus, rapid or quick step, and then a passing playstyle, preferably tiki-taka. But she's got all 4 of them. So, like, I mean, with if she gets an upgrade, like her dribbling maybe needs a little bit of help, but that is a crazy, crazy card.
Yeah, if you want to bet against England or France, then
yeah, exactly. Take the risk. It's only 30k, like you're not going to lose that much.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess that is the women's Euros wrapped up for now. And yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to an international tournament and catching it, and we'll probably talk a bit about it on the podcast as time goes on. So yeah,
there's not been enough football. I don't think.
No.
It's been too much of a gap, really. You know,
what was this competition? I'd not heard of it before, called Club World Cup that was on. So yeah, I don't know what that is, but
have Chelsea and Benfica started playing again yet? I know the game got called off in the 85th minute, and I don't know if they've come back out yet. Honestly,
it's just
my head would be on Mars if I was supporting a team who were 1-0 up with 5 minutes to go. There was a 2-hour break for a bit of thunder, and then we conceded. So they can take it to extra time. Good Lord.
Yeah, so that's Women's Euros. We will move on for now. Actually, connected to it, we had a bit of, EA accidentally leaked something that was coming, which is kind of interesting. And we were thinking maybe this is a test for next cycle. And I'll come to you on that, Josh, right after this break. And we'll see how well this break works, because this is the first time doing it on video. Hello and welcome back after the break. Yeah, as I mentioned before the break, there seems to be some sort of, what is it, almost like a daily leagues thing that they're saying is going to come. And as I was saying, I think that could be something that, based on leaks about next year's additions to Foot, could mean that they're testing it out for FC26.
Yeah, shout out Foot Accountant for tweeting this. He kind of was looking at the news screen, I think on the first day on Friday, so for Team 3 on Friday, and it's like a UEFA Women's Euros Path to Glory, and then underneath it says, the new daily sprint leagues are here, race for the finish line and celebrate the UEFA Women's Euros tournament with new daily sprint league objectives and rewards, including Playstyle Plus and positional evolutions. So, as of recording, we don't know what these are. The fact that leagues is capitalized, it's daily sprint leagues. I mean, daily knockout tournaments, daily sprint leagues. I don't know. It does feel like maybe we're kind of moving in that direction a little bit, but I mean, who knows? The fact it's a league objective, I don't know if I'm reading too much into the fact that they're calling it a league. Like, do you have to
limited games? I guess.
Yeah, is that going to be like a 20 games thing or a 38 games or I don't really know how that works because you can't really do leagues in online because you can't get everybody to play each other. Interesting name.
We will see. And moving on, in terms of leaks, we also had leaked icons, which, I mean, as always with leaks, you can't be completely sure, but it seems like this come from reputable sources. There's always a bit of controversy when icons get added, where they should be icons, where they should perhaps be heroes. But let me take you through, I guess, some of the ones that I'm more confident will be icons, because they're saying icons, but I guess it's a possibility these could be added as heroes. There are quite a few, actually, and some big names. So we've got Oliver Kahn. I think he'll definitely be an icon, right?
I mean, very, very famous German goalkeeper. I wouldn't be totally shocked if he was a hero. But, I mean, he was... just his silhouette's iconic, like the way he was in goal. Obviously, I remember him mainly from the 99 final. And, you know, he was an absolute nutcase. But, yeah, I don't know. I think he'll be an icon.
Yeah, and then...
I don't think he'll be widely used because he wasn't that tall, if I remember correctly.
6'3" or something. So I guess if Casillas was, as long as they do the right play styles and things like that, it should be good. Iniesta, I mean, obviously an icon, right? That's not going to be.
Yeah, I and should be one of the highest rated midfield icons we have.
Cruz, I think an icon.
Yeah,
I think that's fine.
Yeah, 100%.
Actually, so much of his career, he was like the best midfielder in the world, right? Or
I don't know what else he could have done in his career not be an icon.
Huge success, and internationally as well, both Champions League. Yeah, it makes sense. And then Chiellini.
Yeah, I mean, obviously won the Euros with Italy. Was he in the World Cup squad in 2006, was it?
God, he probably was, you know.
Yes. So, you know, and obviously, just one of the best. He would come up if you were talking about, I don't know, top 20 centre-backs of all time. With the number of icons we have now, like, I think he makes that list. When you consider the centre-backs that are considered heroes and not icons, he's definitely a cut above them. So, I mean, Chiellini, Sol Campbell.
I mean, we really needed another Italian centre-back as well. So, and then let's do the women's players. So we got 𝗵𝗽. For those who don't know, she was the Golden Boot winner in the 1999 Women's World Cup, I think it was, and is an attacking midfielder. So yeah, not a striker. So it's quite impressive. Technically an amazing player, and has that kind of international status, which would suit her being an icon. We've also got Alex Morgan. I feel like if David Beckham's an icon, then Alex Morgan should be as sort of the women's David Beckham, I think, in terms of status and also being a exceptional striker as well.
Yeah, I mean, just one of the best women's strikers around. Like, kind of, I think always overlooked in terms of the women's kind of Ballon d'Or equivalent in the. I think kind of Marta was always up there. So, yeah, I mean, just in terms of a face of the game, I don't think you could be more iconic than she has been in her career. So, and obviously the States win so much internationally, or used to anyway. I think she's got to be there.
And then Steffi Jones, German icon, and has a long career with the international team, something like over 100 caps or something like that. And that tends to mean potential to be an icon if they have big kind of international status, but also could, I don't know, potentially be a hero. See how they go with that. I guess it depends.
Especially for a defender as well. I think it's very easy to lean the players you remember scoring and kind of lighting the pitch up rather than, dragging Saka down as we're about to go 2-0 up in the Euros final. But I think for her and for another player who will come on to, I think, who was also leaked, she did a lot for the women's game in Germany, especially kind of in the build up to the World Cup that they had there, and as a kind of black female player in Germany, that was quite unusual in the 90s. And she's been given like the kind of high civilian honors for the work that she's done. So, definitely heroic in that sense. Maybe iconic. We'll see. I think more likely she'll be a hero.
Talking about Germany, we also have 𝗵𝗀𝘀𝘁, who's a Korean men's player who many people, judging by, we were checking the kind of stats on people Googling these players, certainly someone that a lot of people probably don't know. Do you want to fill people in a little bit? And I mean, interesting in terms of the whole hero icon thing, based on what you were saying before we recorded about him. Yeah,
and a kind of trailblazer in a different way, really was one of the people that started hammering out that path that's quite a few players have gone through from Asia to the Bundesliga. You think of the likes of Heung-min Son, who played in the Bundesliga. He moved over, I think it was the 80s, and played mainly for Frankfurt and Leverkusen, scored like a decent amount of goals, and was known for having an absolute rocket. So one of those players that I just don't think has entered the cultural zeitgeist, or at least stayed there, probably because he only ever played in Germany, which I think will probably mean that he is more likely going to be a hero than an icon. But I mean, kind of worth pointing out how unusual it was for foreign players, really, especially from as far seas as South Korea, to be playing in a major European league in the late 70s and then early 80s, and to be as successful as he was, pretty mad. Like, if you look at the teams he played for before coming and playing for Germany, it wasn't like the K-League was this incredible league at that point. And he comes, I think he starts at Darmstadt. Like a player who I will confess to not knowing a lot about, but I've been very interested reading about his career and kind of, understanding what he did. There's a great photo of him in the airport when he arrived in Germany. Just an interesting player and kind of one of those heroes that I like being added, because you kind of then start reading about the history of football, and considering how much the kids talk about ball knowledge, who's this guy? I'll do some research, might get some ball knowledge.
No, that's a good point. And I mean, we move on to players that people will definitely recognize. First of all, Marcelo. Widely considered one of the best left backs while he was, even outside of his peak, to be honest. And I think for that reason, and the fact that he will sell games and packs, I think he'll be an icon.
I think it's pretty nailed on. I think, when you go through these players, you think about Champions Leagues and World Cups internationally. And Marcelo's got both of those ticked off in terms of like his performances on both stages. And probably behind Ashley Cole, I would say, in terms of left backs. But he's got to be iconic.
Left backs, I guess he probably,
it's him. He's kind of Roberto Carlos's, next of kin almost. Like, I think I can't see him being anything but an icon. Be interesting to see where he's rated. I think kind of 87, 88 would be where I'd expect. I don't think it'd be much higher, especially, again, when you consider where Roberto Carlos is.
I think that's the interesting thing. He's someone that, because you heard me being a bit sensitive about him being an icon almost, or having to justify it, but his career is obviously really impressive, and he's always won things. But actually, his items or cards have never been that high rated in the game, right? In terms of base items relative to other players. And actually, I think at the other end of the spectrum, we move on to the final player, who I feel like you probably want to cause some controversy around. And that's the addition of Zlatan Ibrahimovic. because he has had some really high-rated versions, but I think a lot of people don't necessarily rate him that high as a real-life player, interestingly. I don't know whether that's the same for you.
I think because he was always seen as old, because of how many goals he scored after he hit 30, people have this kind of view of him that he'd always been a bit of a has-been. But I mean, like, if you look at, so he moved to PSG when he was 31 and scored 200 and something league goals after that. And like, you go, oh yeah, but I mean, he probably went to the MLS, and he did for a season or 2 seasons, scored like 50 goals. But outside of that, it was PSG, Manchester United, and AC Milan. It wasn't like he was playing for some kind of, I don't think United have ever replaced him personally. Like,
I mean, it's not like United or AC Milan were easy teams to score goals for either during those times.
Yeah, it's true.
So yeah.
So, but the thing that you look at his honours list. The thing that he doesn't have is a Champions League. And obviously, internationally, he scored a great overhead kick, but doesn't really have any kind of outrageous achievements internationally. So would it be that unfair to make him a high-rated hero?
Yeah, it's really interesting that. And I mean, a lot of the kind of confusion over hero or icon does come down to the fact that heroes were added partway through, and we still have, I think, quite a few icons that would probably be heroes if they were introduced now.
Yeah. You know, like the question around 𝘃𝗏𝗏, for example. Have you mentioned 𝘃𝗏𝗏?
Well, I don't think we mentioned 𝘃𝗏𝗏, actually, so I'm glad you brought him up.
I suddenly had that moment. I'm looking at his face, and I was like, I'm not sure we've spoken about him. But I think, like, the argument for him is one club man. Now, that doesn't count against, Paul Scholes, for example. And he won the World Cup. It's worth saying, with Italy.
And he played in that World Cup as well.
Yeah, but he had one Serie A title, didn't win the Champions League. And so, can you be an icon? Like, he is iconic, but I don't know that necessarily he qualifies as an icon. And Zlatan's almost completely the opposite, that he's played for loads of clubs in loads of different countries and won the league in so many different countries as well. Is it 4 of the main leagues? It's only with Manchester United he failed to win the league in that country, and that would have completed the set. I think he'd have then won it in all. No, he hadn't done Germany. He'd have won it in 4 different countries. So I think Zlatan has a better shout than Totti at being an icon, but they I feel like they could sway hero. Totti's an interesting one because it is a knock against him that he didn't play outside of Italy. Obviously, played in the national team, but played only for Roma. But again, Paul Scholes is an icon, and as you say, there is this issue that those icons that were added in that first batch and that have never dropped out, we have had some drop from being icons into being heroes. Nakata being the one that sticks in my mind.
I mean, I would say probably the parallel for Totti is actually maybe Gerrard, right? In the
but Totti won.
So he's more deserving.
Remember,
Yeah, that's true.
But he didn't win the Champions League.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, of course.
When Dudek
but
was
he won
15 yards off his line for a penalty.
Yeah, he won the league and was involved in that World Cup run. So I guess I would say that if Gerrard's an icon, I mean, he was added before heroes, right? But they would never have added Gerrard as a hero, would they? Let's be real. So I think we're probably in a similar situation with Totti. I expect him to be added as a hero. I actually think as an icon, and I think probably all of these will actually end up as icons, because I don't know, maybe not. Maybe there are a few that maybe not.
I think it's weird that we've had icons leaked and no heroes. So unless there is a hero leak, I would absolutely expect that half of these will be heroes and half of them will be icons.
Fair. There are also quite a lot of them. Actually, I think you're right. Changing my mind live, because this is, I think, too many icons for them to add in one go. It's a lot. It's a lot of players. So yeah, I agree with that. Right. This video format really means that we have to improvise a bit more, and we probably need to take a break, don't we? So we'll do that, and then we'll come back in just a second to talk up, I guess, clean up a few other Ultimate Team related bits we need to cover before we go. We'll catch you in just a second. Hello, and in this break, a quick reminder that the pod is made possible by supporters. The pod didn't used to be weekly. Yes, FUT Weekly wasn't actually weekly for a time. And then someone suggested setting up the Patreon. And since then, the pod has been weekly. And in fact, it's been twice weekly because there is that supporter episode every single week. So if you'd like to catch that episode and keep the podcast going, it's just £3 a month to do so. And you get loads in return. And there are perks higher than that, including access to the Discord too. So if you're interested and would like to support the podcast, then head over and search Support FUT Weekly. Go to Patreon, and it's very easy to sign up. If you are a supporter keeping the podcast going, then a huge thank you for doing so. And if you do consider supporting, a huge thank you too. Right, let's jump back into the pod. Hello, welcome back after the break. Right, let us talk about Evos. And yeah, I mean, it's been another interesting week for Evos. I would just quickly say, I think some of the reward Evos have been, all right. I guess I'm doing this from a personal perspective, but there's certainly been players that I've been able to add these Evos to. The one thing I would say, most of those players are players I've already been evolving because of the overall cap. So if you look at the recently released objective Evos that have had like a max 94 overall rating, most of the players that fit in those, like the 5-star weak foot one, the striker and advanced forward plus, and the CB, actually the CB and CB rolls plus is actually no overall cap, but the other two are 94 cap. So the players that I'm adding in are generally Evo players. And so, yeah, I guess that does feel kind of limiting because there are so many good players coming out of packs that are higher rated. But yeah, beyond those like reward Evos, are there any evolutions you wanted to highlight that we've had over this last week?
Well, I was going to talk about the CB and rolls plus because I think it's interesting that it's an SBC that's like 65k. I have an issue with those kinds of evolutions and kind of with the shapeshifter Evos in general, and it's probably because we have too many things that dictate how good a player is in each position. When we do our kind of talk, maybe like halfway through the cycle, we'll usually have a section where we go, what are your favorite playstyles for each position? And they'll be different, right? We won't have the same playstyles at centre-back for those in midfield. And so if you have a midfielder that you've been evolving for ages, why do you want to make them a centre-back? Because they're most likely going to have 2 or 3 passing play styles. And unless they're like a holding DM or like even like a CDM centre-half that you've been building to play that role, I don't think it works. And, it's been the same with some of the position change Evos for shapeshifters. Like we had the centre-back going up to striker, and it's like, okay, I've added like 20 rating to my centre-back. He now has 95 shooting, but his playstyles are all anticipate and like, or the other way around, where, okay, I want to make this centre-back better, but I have to put him through this, and now he's got low-driven finesse shot and aerial, and it's like, well, that's not great if I actually want to play them at centre-back. And I know that it's like, well, just pick a different player. There's something that doesn't quite work with those when you can't change the playstyle pluses. And it's something I hope that changes in the future for Evos, where you can decide to drop playstyle pluses and add them in from an evolution or maintain the ones you already have, because I think it would make these position change Evos far more attractive and far more useful and far more fun in terms of team building.
Yeah. I mean, we had a listener write in and say, as Dennis saying, looking ahead to FC26 and how EA has managed playstyles with Evos this year, I'm only going to do Evos on my favourite players that give them playstyles towards being an end game card, and I don't leave them with unwanted playstyles come February, March and after. I think that's something that we talked about on the podcast over the course of this cycle, knowing how it worked last cycle as well, and knowing that they couldn't be removed. And I think it's a really good point, especially players that you really care about and you're sort of trying to perfect. You really need to be careful about what playstyle pluses you add to those players. And as we've seen towards the end of the cycle, there's been a lot of opportunities to add good playstyle pluses to players without limits through the season pass. So we'd probably expect that again come next cycle. And actually, we're not that far away from the next season pass right now, right? So that's likely to bring us more of those like fairly broad playstyle plus evolutions, potentially with an even higher overall cap, or at least hopefully not a regular playstyle limit, because that's been pretty annoying. So yeah, onto the paid evolutions. We talked last week about the goalkeeper evos that they did, or the sort of combined SBC and evos, if that makes sense. And yeah, what are your thoughts on what we've had this week? Anything to point out?
I mean, it's worth saying we've not had any more of those. You know, we had 𝘵𝘂𝘁 and then haven't had any more. I was expecting we probably would do. Also, on Friday, you had the shapeshifter striker evolution and the training camp, 𝘵ici's training camp evolutions both expired that were 500k each. So it was 1 million coins worth of evos expiring. And it's not been replaced by something that expensive, so maybe the message got through that people didn't want to spend
3 million coins or whatever it was
evolutions. Like, there are some really fun evos. I have an issue, as I usually do, but like, I think Sideline Superstar is quite an interesting evo. Quite a few players have centre mid as a position, even though they would play in that forward line. And the stats that it boosts, even if you do want to keep them as a centre mid, are actually quite good. You know, we still have the max 98 issue on passing and dribbling. Don't give us 99 evos if you're then going to block them out of all future evos. It's, you know, is getting frustrating at this point. But, you know, really good boosts to kind of passing, really good boosts to dribbling. A +20 to composure is always welcome. Uncapped boost to ball control. I think Sideline Superstar is probably my favourite. I think Ready and Able was also quite well received as well, which was a kind of centre mid to cam position change. But obviously that's not that big. Gave good stat boosts. I think it was a max 93 as well going in, which is good. I think the problem we're hitting at the moment is that max 93, max 92, which is where all of the evos are at the moment. We keep doing this with evolutions where we hit this point where everyone's 94. All of my evo players are 94 rated, but we're still in this max 92, max 93 area. And instead of increasing the kind of entrance to 95 or 94 rated and still having it as max 96, they've just increased the boost from boosting players to 94 to boosting them to 96. So, you know, the just like 𝘵𝘂𝘁 that came out last night, which I think is about 𝘵𝘂𝗰𝗀𝘀. Some people thought there'd been a typo, which I found quite funny. But, you know, that takes players to 96 rated. Spread Your Wings, 96 rated. The 𝘵𝑚 95 rated. And it's like, okay, but I'm now worried that I'm now locking these players that are going to 96 rated out of evos for how much longer? Again, like, it's just, this is the problem with the way evolutions are currently, is that they don't feel like they're progressing, especially not in line with the power curve. We've had 5-star, most people have had 5 playstyle pluses in like a player with 5 playstyle pluses in their team for a while. You can get them for quite cheap off the market right now, and yet we're not at a point with evos where we can get them regularly. Like, yeah, I don't know. I think evos have just fallen too far behind again, and what will happen is we'll get a raft of evos released probably next week, where suddenly it feels like you can actually bump up your evo team again and make them decent and get them at least close to the power curve, and suddenly it'll be evos are great and this is the only reason I play the game. So I get that we're just in that point of the cycle. I just would prefer it if there was more dribbled in to that kind of progression, that it still felt like you were upgrading your top players, that doesn't cost 500,000 coins preferably.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, yeah, if they drip fed those a bit more, you know, what's wrong with people getting slightly ahead on the odd position, especially because they can pick positions which aren't so impactful. So it makes a lot of sense. It's nice to see some less expensive evos. I think often the ones around 200 FC points, 50k feel quite good, like the sort of 25k, 50k evos. And I guess it is worth highlighting that I mean, Nep highlighted this recently, right, in a tweet he did, that you really can generate quite a lot of coins. And so I don't think our beef should necessarily be with Evos being paid, but with Evos being paid when they cost like 500k, especially considering the value you get out of something like the season pass for 500k.
Yeah, and just on that tweet, right? Net posted a team. He started a meta RTG like 3 weeks ago. The team he has now is quite frankly ridiculous. It was helped by the fact he packed 𝘵𝘵𝘃𝗃, 𝘵𝘵𝘃𝗃𝗃, and Team of the Season Ronaldo in the space of 12 hours. That did help. But it is incredible. It also includes that he's completed the paid season pass, so he's obviously got 𝗏𝗏 in there, and had done the 𝘵𝘃𝗲𝗰𝘀𝘁 Evo, the Czech Evo, and the 𝘵𝗏𝗲𝗸 Evo. And he's done all that on a free-to-play account that he's played for 3 weeks. And the response was, you're a liar, right? There's no way that you've done that without spending any money. You're just a liar. So then on Friday, on the Crappers account, we needed to get 1 million coins to complete those 2 Evos I was talking about earlier, and we had 300k. Now, we still had the final 2 levels of the season pass, so that meant the tradable 89x3 and the tradable 91x3. And out of the 91x3, we got McTominay, so that was 300k. But that still left us 350k short, and we managed to generate 350k in like 5 or 6 hours just from what was in the club by completing level like SBCs for players we don't actually want, but just because they gave good pack returns. So anything that gives a jumbo gold pack or a jumbo premium gold pack is really quite good value because you're turning those untradables into a tradable pack. And because of the price of consumables right now, the number of consumables you get in a jumbo gold pack is enough that you're going to get something that sells for a couple of 100 coins or a few thousand coins, especially chemistry styles. Then going into moments and finding that, 10 stars in moments gets you a rare consumables pack. So if you get an engine, a hawk, a shadow, that's 3-4k straight off the bat. You can get the draft tokens at the moment. Every day there is 2 draft tokens for just 11 rare gold players, and you'll have those untradable. You'll be putting them in another SBC to get more untradable players anyway. If you go and get those draft tokens, try and win the first round so that you don't get the first round draft rewards and quit out in the second or third round, and you tend to get a gold pack, a jumbo gold pack, a jumbo premium gold pack. Sometimes you get a silver players pack as well. And again, that's then another like 10 to 15k, pretty much minimum every single time, that for 11 rare gold players. It is easy to make coins in this game in terms of like there are so many ways that you can do it. It just requires a bit of grind, a bit of thought, a bit of not doing something you consider to be fun. So when Net posts how he's made this 1 million coins, then it came back with 𝘵𝑎𝑗𝑢𝑛, who can be bothered. And it's like, well, no, you can't call someone a liar that they've done all of these things. Then when they show you can do it, but it takes a bit of a grind, be like, 𝘵𝑎𝑗𝑢𝑛, no one's got time for that. It's like, no. We can't have everything for no effort. We just can't. And if that's what people want from this game, then I think you've only been playing it for a few years, because that's never been what this game's been about. It's never been it's called a grind for a reason. It's never been what this game's about. So there are issues with this game. And because you rail against like this kind of negativity, it's like, oh, you're defending the game. There are absolutely issues, lots of issues, but I think the community is one of the biggest issues right now. We don't know what we want. We think we do, and if we actually got it, we'd hate it. So yeah, we're in a kind of odd spot, I think. But yeah, if you want coins, it's not difficult to get coins. Like when we started chatting today, I had 50 coins on my main account because I spent it all on evolutions, and I'm up to 250k just from selling the consumables I had in my club. It really isn't hard. I mean, healing cards. How many healing cards have people discarded? They're 300 coins for the base and 450 for rare at the moment. Like I had 500 of them. Like that's just so there are easy coins. Is it fun to sit there and list for 300 coins for 5 minutes? No, but if you don't want to do that, you can't complain that you don't have coins to go and do something else. Like the opportunity is there.
And the other thing is, if you're a good enough player, like champs is quite rewarding from a coin perspective. Like it's crazy how many coins you get back, especially with the tradable team of the season pack and stuff like that. Or team of the season / 𝘵𝘵𝘃𝗃 pack, whatever it is. So there's plenty of ways to make coins, and don't keep your coins, spend them, because you don't want to be left with coins at the end. I think on that, we do come to the end of this podcast. A reminder that, this is the first video pod. So if you want to check this out on YouTube, then head over there. Just search for Weekly Podcast. And do subscribe, leave a comment saying how beautiful we are. And like the video too, definitely helps out. And if you are catching this on the podcast feeds, then do subscribe there. And of course, if you want an extra podcast every single week, then you can head over to Patreon. Just search Support for Weekly, or you can follow the link in the description of this podcast. A huge thank you to all those supporters who are keeping the podcast going, especially those icon patrons. Dave B, Darren W, Hugh J, Rob W, Brent P, Ralph, Josh R, Brian, Michael B, Adam R, Bertasaka, Make B, Michael H, Andrew P, Arian B, Rob S, Michael K, Neil P, Jake S, Tom B, Alex M, Alan G, Lee A, Chris G, Mark M, Dom P, Rob P, Roger D, Dan W, Waterman, Also Ran, and 𝘵𝘂𝘬𝘬. Plus a special thanks to Luke M, Dave B, Hugh J, Tom M, Darren W, and Pato Foot for advice and production assistance. Before I leave you, just one more thing to add though. Ultimate Team is a bit like life really. It has its many ups and downs. If you're having a few more downs than ups in real life in these more difficult times, then please don't feel that you're alone or need to struggle on without taking action. If you go to 𝘃𝗲𝗀𝘀𝗏, there's loads of resources, advice, support, or even just a friendly chat for anyone who needs it. If it sounds like it could help you, then head over to 𝘃𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗏. And for now, have a good one, and I'll catch you on the next podcast.